Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Place of mining buys the AFTERBIRTH Plus. We can't be stopped. You get the good items, you press the buttons, and it's over. It's just that easy. TJJ9J26W. Dude, I'm liking the stats right out of the gate. No HP, but Forget-Me-Now is very interesting. Fire rate's not amazing, but our damage stat is above average. Why would you put yourself in the corridor of death? That's all I ask. You know, if you see the sides of the trash compactor closing in, there's a couple of things you could do. You could frantically radio C-3PO for help, leading to a comical situation in which he thinks he's witnessing the anguished screams of your own demise, or alternatively, next time you could think and be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't jump down this exhaust tube, Han Solo. Maybe it leads to the freaking trash compactor. Midgar Zolom could be down here trying to drag people under. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't remember at all. I'm just so freaking amped. Is that an energy drink? It must be an energy drink. Dude, I'm telling you. So I'm not a fitness influencer. I've been working out for like 8 months. You gotta go along a lot further than that. Oh, we can take both. I like pause button, but there's no way we could take pause button and still get the effects of Forget-Me-Now. We could just take pause button. Actually, if we get an orbital, that would be great, and I might consider it. But if we don't get an orbital, we're going to keep it going this way. I'm not a fitness influencer, you know? Nor do I want to be, because I want to stay natty. But either way, I think, and I've talked about this before, that, like, you know, when you read fitness blogs, fitness consumers are in need of like a well-rounded adult to work in the medium. You know what I mean? Because every single fitness program is like, this program's called Ripped and Shredded. This fitness program is called Pulled Pork. We're gonna have you looking like a pot of chili on the Super Bowl by the time we're done with this. Step 1, get angry. And I'm like, dude, I'm just like down here trying not to like die an early death, you know? Do we have to really go with the whole, there's so much unnecessary machismo. And you're like, where does this factor into what you were talking about a second ago? Well, you know, it's gonna get there. But what I was gonna say is, you know, I feel like energy drinks are in like the same boat right now. You know, there's Monster, Bang, Amp. Can't there just be an energy drink that's just like, you know, hey, you need a pickup? I guess that's like yerba mate. the boomer energy drink. I don't know, man. Here's my hypothesis, okay? Grandpa didn't have super creatine infused Bang energy drink when he was stepping foot on Jericho Beach. Wait, Juno Beach. There we go. Trying to stop the spread of the Third Reich in Europe. He might have been thwacked out of his mind on some U.S. Army methamphetamine, the ill effects of which were not known as of that time. But hey, they didn't have any Bang energy drink. That's all I'm gonna say. If Grandpa could get through 1939 to 1945 without a Bang energy drink, I'm pretty sure you can, you know, go to work at the parts department of the Ford dealership without having 17 days worth of taurine coursing through your veins. I don't know, though. You might say, NL is hypocritical. You drink coffee. You're absolutely right. I actually, let me tell you something, okay? So I've talked a lot, you know, like, within the past 12 months, I basically, by adult standards, do not drink. I've made 2 exceptions. You know, I drank at Josh's wedding, and I drank at PAX. Not that much, though. And on top of that, you know, apart from that, I'm not, like, fully abstinent when it comes to alcoholic beverages, but I might have, like, literally 1 or 2 a month. Pretty low. And the benefits on my life have been fantastic. I wasn't drinking that much before, but you know, you go out with your friends, you have, you know, a few too many, you wake up the next day and you know, you're not feeling so good. Saps your motivation. You don't sleep as well. You're spending a little bit more money on this stuff. You're wasting more time, blah, blah, blah. You know, is it fun? It can be when done responsibly. But the benefits of not drinking or not drinking often are myriad. You know, they're inescapable. Anybody that argues against them has a little bit of chemical brainwash going on, in my opinion. But in the last, like, 2 months, I also halved my caffeine consumption, and I'm here to tell you, don't worry about it. I was drinking 2 cups of coffee a day for, like, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 years. Still not that much, you know. Now, I've been drinking 1 cup of coffee a day for 2 months. I noticed literally no changes whatsoever. And I mean, not only do I notice no changes, but like no positive changes and no negative changes. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm drowsier, but it's also like I'm not sleeping any better or any worse. I'm not like mentally sharper. You know, my cognitive performance. It doesn't matter. That's my 2 cents on the subject. It doesn't matter. Aren't you saving money though? I mean, yeah, but coffee's like it's pretty cheap. I don't know. I'm saving like $6 or $7 extra a month. That's not enough to really, you know. I'm not gonna be up on stage in front of, like, you know, college freshmen. Be like, don't drink coffee. You could save enough to get a $2 sign dinner for 2 with someone you like once every 6 weeks. It's not as inspiring. So yeah, maybe I'm a little hypocritical. I don't know. I feel like because I was an only child, I always have these questions of like, well, I mean, I still am an only child, but I have all these questions of like, when is the proper age for like a person to start consuming coffee, for example? You know, it came up, I forget, it was on the NLSS, I think, last week, but I was like, I don't know what kids eat. Like, I know a baby drinks, you know, milk, obviously. Is this true? Yeah, I mean, we can roll with this item. And I know, like, you know, when you're 10, you pretty much eat just smaller portions of, like, what an adult eats. You know, you don't have to make special dinners for your 10-year-old. In fact, if you do, you might be doing them a disservice. However, this is obviously ignoring any dietary concerns. What do you eat between the ages of, like, 2 and 10? Like, what does a 2-year-old eat for dinner? They eat, like, a dinosaur chicken nugget and, like, a mashed up banana or something? I have no idea. But what I was gonna say is, like, I don't know, what's the right age for a person to be able to start drinking coffee? Or, you know, I'm avoiding saying a kid to start drinking coffee, because I don't think your kids should be drinking coffee, but unless they're comedians in a car getting coffee, in which case I'll allow it. This is really like, how much of a coward are you? I'm too much of a coward, I'll tell you that right now. We might get another chance at it anyway, when our HP looks a little better. But I didn't start drinking coffee until I worked as an English teacher. So I was like 22. It's crazy, right? That's not to say I hadn't consumed coffee before in my life. I don't know. Here's the thing. If you're, like, you know, let's say you're 15, 16, 17 right now, adults are lying to you constantly, okay? I don't want it to be like, I'm not trying to undermine them, because I'm one of them. I'm on their side, right? But I feel like you should know. They're lying to you constantly. You know how, like, well, let me give you an example, you know? When I was in, like, 2nd grade, we had to learn cursive writing, right? Now, there's no way for my teachers to know that, you know, the rise of computing would make it so that cursive writing was, like, an antiquated skill, basically, overnight. But we spent hundreds of hours learning how to write in cursive. You know why? Their reasoning literally every single time was, well, when you go to university, the professor speaks so fast you won't be able to print the notes quickly enough. You're gonna have to use cursive writing in order to be able to write down what they're saying in time. I'm telling you, it's a lie. First off, a lot of people can print basically as fast as they can write cursive writing, but secondarily, people are gonna constantly be telling you, you know, you gotta build good habits because life is hard. I mean, you go through hard things in life, but I think it's a matter of perspective, you know? Oh yeah, you don't need to drink coffee now because you're 10 years old, but when you get older, you're gonna need to drink coffee, you know? I heard from a lot of people, once you get to college, you're gonna need coffee just to get through those, like, late night cramming sessions. I made it through college, I probably had, like, less than a cup of coffee annually, for real. It's not that hard, you just don't ever start. Not that, you know, drinking coffee is a bad habit. I'm just saying, you know, people, oh, and same thing, you know, when you're older. I've been guilty of it probably in this very series, but you know. You know, when you get older, you start to lose all, you gain weight so quick. I've been telling people that, you know. When I was in like my late 20s, I was like, man, you know, I just, must be getting old. Starting to gain weight faster than I ever have before. I was just eating like garbage, really, is I think what it came down to. You know. What a strange coincidence. Ever since I started taking the bare minimum level of self-care and practicing it on a daily basis, I feel great. Feel like as good as I felt when I was in high school. I don't know, man. I don't want to espouse the belief that life is not hard, because I think that invites argument. People, well, maybe your life's been easy, but my life's been hard, and yada, yada, yada. All I'm going to say is I think it can be useful to believe that life is easy in the sense that you have the capabilities of handling whatever life can throw at you, you know? If you believe life is hard, you might make your life harder when it doesn't have to be. You know, if you believe, you know, life is easy or, you know, you're capable of handling it, then, you know, I think you just... It's not that you're not going to have, you know, bad things happen to you at some point. It's just that, you don't have to mire yourself in misery at all times just out of solidarity, you know? That's my 2 cents on that subject, at least. I don't really know what I'm talking about, though. Maybe when you turn 40, that's when it really starts. When you turn 50, you just got. When you turn 60, when you turn 70, oh baby. When you turn 270 years old. It is wild, you know. Sometimes I think about, you know, like the people who win. Win is a weird word, but people who set the Guinness records for like being the oldest human beings that are alive. Right now is like an especially weird time for that, I think. Because if you are like 120 years old, you were born in the last millennium. And that's not even the most mind-boggling part. But, I mean, I was born in the last millennium now that I think about it. But, that'll sound crazier as time goes on, I promise. Right now, it's not that spectacular. At least 4 or 5 people watching this were born in the well, wait a minute. No, they are born in the previous millennium. Excuse me, millennium. Definitely in the previous century. Where was I going with this? But, like, Kate was telling me she watched this video on YouTube of this Japanese woman, and she's 125 or something like that. Let's just say she's 120 for like argument's sake, okay? So she's 120. She was born in 1900. She was an adult by the time the First World War ended. I have no idea. I mean, it's not really ignorance, to be honest. It's just, you know, I just don't know. It's not willful ignorance, at least. I don't know what effect the Great Depression had on Japan, but she lived, like, through the Great Depression. That would have ended when she was, like, in her 20s. Then, like, the Second World War. So she was, like, an adult and then entering middle age by the end of the Second World War. That was 70 years ago she entered middle age. The age where, like, her kids might be having grandkids. Then, like, post-war Japan, you know, the economic disaster followed by the rise of it as one of the largest economies on planet Earth, the complete cultural transformation of the country she's lived her entire life in. Like, that she lived through all of that and she's still alive, you know? She probably saw like some of the first motion pictures in theaters. She was like 50 when Akira Kurosawa was working. You look at those movies now, you're like they came out 500 years ago. Don't even have Panavision. I'm just saying. Feel like we're lucky, obviously. Like we're growing up in, or you know, living in weird times for sure. But we don't have that same kind of like, we don't have the signposts, you know? I mean, if you're in like your 50s or 60s, I guess you do. You know, I was like 2 when the Cold War ended or something like that. If it ended, I don't know. But I guess the other scary thing is like, you know, I'm only 30. Imagine being born in like, you know, 1918, you know? You hit like age 25 and you're like, wait, I've got my numbers bad. Let's say you're born in like 1918. It's your 20th birthday and you're like, man, I'm so glad I wasn't born when World War I was taking place. Man, that would have sucked. I mean, yeah, our world right now has got some problems, but can you imagine being a draftable soldier during the bloodiest conflict the world has ever seen in recorded history? It would have been horrible. Ring, 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 ring. Okay, well, the joke's getting like a little... It's not like a dark joke. Any Second World War veterans watching this? If so, first off, thank you for your service. Secondly, thanks for bringing the demographics up on the video, you know? The older the demo on the video, the nicer the comments are. I hate to say it. If there's boomers and zoomers and Gen Zs and Gen Xs watching this, I'm here to tell you. You ever see the comments on a YouTube video that's predominantly watched by, you know, people over the age of like 60? First off, the video is always like, you know, perfect lemon squares. And the comments are uniformly like, thank you, Jen. It's all caps all the time. Thank you, Jennifer. I made these lemon squares when my beautiful niece Ashley came to visit and she said she loved them and I gave her the leftovers and she's taking them back to Cornell to give to her roommates. And it was the happiest day I've had in a long time. Thank you again, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. All the best to you and yours. God bless. You ever seen the comments on a video that's predominantly being viewed by people in like the 20 to 40 range? It's just pandemonium. It could still be a video about perfect lemon squares. Number one comment will be like, well, you know where there weren't any perfect lemon squares? During the Holodomor, which is what'll happen if Bernie Sanders gets in. How dare you turn a video about lemon squares into... And then, you know, it's just, you know, you sign on to YouTube the next day and you're like, I gotta ban 500 people. How did this happen? I welcome the day when I got a predominantly 80-year-old audience, dude. We're gonna have a great time together, I promise. I kind of think, like, you know, a lot of streamers, and myself included, we occupy our minds sometimes with this thought experiment of, like, you know, streaming has started, has traditionally been a little bit more geared towards the younger audience, not necessarily, you know, single-digit ages, but, you know, adolescents, teenagers, early adults. But I really think, like, you know, streaming is a great fit for older people. Not necessarily to do as a job, but maybe. But, like, you know, it's, you know, when you get older, you get a little isolated, maybe. I'm talking, like, you know, 70s and beyond, but you get a little isolated. All you want to do, you know, is find people that have shared interests and kind of talk about it, you know? You go to twitch.tv, you see someone your age, you know, who's going to remember the things that you remember from when you were a young adult, and they're talking about motorcycles. They're fixing their motorcycle or something like that, and you're like, this is the greatest entertainment ever created. It's a cool thing, dude. I think it could be a cool thing, at least. It will be interesting, don't get me wrong, to see how, you know, how the streaming landscape changes over time. You know, I'm in that kind of, I'm in that awkward corridor, I would say. You know, people in their 30s tend not to have as much free time. You know, probably like your 30s, 40s, and 50s. I don't know. I mean, I'm making a judgment based on, you know, a thought about adult life that I don't even know if it applies. But, you know, I feel like those are like the busiest years of your life, you know. When you're a teenager, don't take this the wrong way. It's not that you're, like, not busy. You might be like, screw you, I'm in 4 AP classes. Yeah, but, like, you know, you're not paying any bills. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's gonna get worse, probably. Very few people are like, oh, I'm so glad I'm in my early 20s, you know. Well, actually, that's not true. I think, maybe, depending on what you do after high school, you know. Maybe, I guess you could find yourself in that position, but not many people I knew were like, you know, so glad I'm finally out of high school. I was working too hard. It tends to, yeah, just suck it up. You tend to get busier as you get older, is what I'm saying, you know? When I was in my early 20s, I was like, oh my god, I don't even know if it's possible to be any busier than this. And I'm like, substantially busier now. Things just, you know, they pile up on you. You can't avoid it. No matter how hard you try to fight the responsibility, and I see a lot of people in this business doing it, you know, that try to limit the amount of responsibility that's trying to force its way into their lives. It's good to stay agile, I think, but, you know, you gotta learn the skill at some point, you know? I think, at least. You gotta just add it incrementally. You know, you're like, I could live on $100 a month easy. It's no problem. I'll just eat ramen noodles for every meal. Then you meet, you know, a nice person and you decide, you know, I'd really like to spend some time with this person. Unfortunately, they don't want to live in my mom's basement with me, so I'm going to have to pay rent. They don't want to eat ramen noodles for every single meal. We're going to have to get some nicer groceries. And, you know, okay, and then in order to do that, maybe you're like, I gotta get a better job. You go to school, it's more responsibility. Maybe you have a kid, you get more responsibility. You know, it's a natural kind of thing that happens in adult life. Then you get older, you know, you got things like you gotta take care of your older family members. You gotta take care of your own health. That requires a lot more maintenance, you know, as you get into your upper years than it does. I mean, you don't, be honest, majority of people in like their 20s just don't do anything for their health. You know, a lot of people exercise, but a lot of people are just like, that's, you know, that's what your 20s are there for, is to mistreat your body a little bit and it won't come back to bite you in the butt. I'm just saying, you know, I feel like 30s, 40s, 50s, that's kind of like, for most people when you're working really hard. You got nose to the grindstone. You spent your 20s maybe figuring out to some extent what you want to do. It doesn't have to be an ironclad plan, but you got a direction. You're not messing around anymore. You're willing to take a chance on it. You know, you want to make things happen. Then in your 60s, sipping Mai Tais in Florida. Dude, we've had a lot of good, like, high-quality Isaac seeds in a row here. Tomo, don't look at me like that. I pet you. That's what your purpose in life. We have an equitable exchange. I pet you, you get petted. You get food, you get water, you get attention, you get toys, you get taken to the vet against your will in order to maximize your quality and longevity of life. You get the meow box once a month. And in return, I get the honor of petting your fur. So don't you look at me like that when I pet you. I don't even know if he's awake. It's kind of freaking me out now. Like, he's looking at me, but he's looking at me like with a lifeless sort of somnambulatory gaze. I think he's asleep. Anyway. This is why, you know, when the Isaac episodes get too good, it's a little bit dangerous. Start talking about things I don't necessarily understand. But I don't know, you can't really, you know, no person can understand everybody's existence on planet Earth, right? I think all you can do is offer up your own experience. In my experience, You should not pick up Tiny Planet, and soy milk is a sometimes item. That's my 2 cents on the subject at present. I'm actually stunned, because I feel like we were, like, these feel like, I mean, obviously very powerful Isaac runs, but also Isaac runs that are, like, classic. You know what I mean? These feel like Isaac runs that are from, you know, 2 years ago, where you had a 50% chance for every Isaac run to feel like this one right here. Ever since Afterbirth Plus and, like, all the booster packs, I'm like, 6 range upgrades? Thank you, I really appreciate it. This one feels like the default Rebirth item set. I mean, obviously we got some differences, but basically, is there a TV tropes page on this? The TV tropes page would be very simple. If I win, it's good. If I lose, it's bad. Ooh. Something, something. Terrible thing to waste. Something, something. Let me in, please. Thank you. I am interested to see how Bumbo turns out. You know, I think it was like last episode, because we got Bumbo so early on the last episode, we talked about it a little bit, but I feel about roguelites, and you're gonna be with me for a second here, and then I'm gonna lose you, and I'm gonna try to bring you back. I feel the same way about roguelites that I do about battle royales, which is, I want to see more of them, and secondarily, that they're not a genre. They're a mode, you know? I think Children of Morta does a great job of demonstrating this. Is that game a roguelite? You could have discussions about that. It has a roguelite style loop, but simultaneously it's within the shell of an action RPG that's a little bit more narrative driven and traditional. Very linear. So anything with roguelite permadeath elements, I'm interested. So I'm interested to see how that gets applied to the match 3 formula. I'm hoping that that ends up being like the spoonful of sugar that finally allows me to wrap my head around a more puzzly style of video game. You know? 10 million, you must build a boat. They did a good job of that as well, but I'm really interested to see how that game turns out. Looking forward to playing it. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!